Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is David Palmer, the Leo King, and we're live today, coming here from the Leo King Studios, here to talk about in-between eclipses and how they're very extreme and how they're very important to understanding what's happening in your life, how powerful the events are from one eclipse to another. And I really wanted to talk about this today because there's just so much going on in this space, and this is definitely a very intense and powerful week. So I just really wanted to be here live, to be here to really go over the eclipses. Of course, look at not exactly the solar eclipse, because that's what I'm going to be doing next week. I'm going to be doing a live show. It's going to be super awesome at Liberate Hollywood. And we do have tickets available to watch the live stream. That's going to be a 4-hour conference just on that eclipse alone. But today I really wanted to focus on the in-between eclipses and a lot of the events that are happening right now in between these eclipses in themselves. There's a lot of powerful astrological transits that are happening in between, and then when you combine the fact that we're in between eclipses, it makes it more intense than normal, right? It makes it more intense than usual. So I'm excited to talk about this because I've always thought that in between eclipses are like the most exciting part that you could ever go through in life, but at the same token, they can also be some of the hardest things to go through, too. So it's one of those things where it's like, are you really, since we're already in this, it's like, man, maybe you should have been a little bit more prepared, right? About the events that happen and the things that come during these in-between spots, because they could be really intense. They could be like so much to where you're like, I don't even know how to handle all these changes that are happening in life. And that's why I'm here today, to be live. So if you could share this to people, get this word out. Lately Facebook has found a way to try and really hamper down on a lot of this information getting out there. They are not putting these videos out like they used to, especially with any of these tags. If you know the way that they work on the back end, there is a fight now for information and the right information. And unfortunately, platforms like this are not being utilized as much. They're being suppressed. And I've noticed it because I've been doing live videos since the very beginning. And it's interesting that they changed the back end of these videos to where you can't even tag anything unless it's like random things like flowers or, random stuff. They don't let you tag any of the stuff that you want to. So it's kind of sad to see, and it's kind of sad to see that it's getting harder and harder, especially through Facebook, to get this out. And the only way to get it out is truly to share. So I would ask, if you really care and you really want this information to help a friend or a lover or anybody in the family or somebody, especially because I know right now this time is extremely sensitive. This time right now is it's much harder than you might realize, or that you probably do. And so I just wanted to say that. So what we're going to do today, we'll take a look. Let me get these charts up and stuff. It's going to take a second here, but we're going to have a little chat today about, what's going on and how is it really affecting us. And let's take a look at the chart for Wednesday, because I really feel like on Wednesday here, this is where things really start to get interesting of this in-between eclipses, literally speaking. The reason why is because we're going to have the moon, which is in good old Scorpio. And when you get a moon in Scorpio, it's very powerful. It's very big. It's very intense. It's what we call at detriment, and it's exactly going to be squaring the sun. So technically, in astrological terms, on Wednesday, February 7th, we are at the exact in-between spot. Okay? So when you get to that exact in-between spot, it is the moment, and this is happening with Jupiter amplifying the emotions of change. Change is not only something that happens during eclipses, but when you add the element of Jupiter and Scorpio, which is forcing you to go down doorways that maybe you weren't prepared for, maybe you weren't, you actually knew it deep in your heart that you needed to make the change, and they're very unpredictable changes. This is the South Node the Sun, Venus, Mercury, all at the same time in square to this Moon-Jupiter aspect, while we also have, look at this, Uranus is at 25 degrees and it's going to be making a sextile to Venus at 25 degrees. So these are changes in our, literally, not only our environment that are coming, changes in our relationships, changes in what doorways are going to what. It's almost like, what? I was not even expecting this. I wasn't even expecting this. And I think a lot of this is like, we need to find a way to not trip out about it so much. We know deeper inside what we want more than ever, I think. I think that we know so much that sometimes we're scared to actually admit it in ourselves. This eclipse that happened literally on January 31st was a full moon lunar eclipse in Leo. And if you actually think about how powerful that North Node full moon lunar eclipse in Leo was, it actually was so powerful because it's forcing you to look so much at your heart and go, this is really what I want. You've got to remember that Jupiter's in Scorpio. You've got to remember that these are a lot of energies over in Aquarius, right? And so it's an unpredictable wake-up call to the call to courage, the call to what you want. And I don't think it's a coincidence either that Mars is in Sagittarius during this whole entire in-between eclipse cycle, forcing us to have that extra courage to take the adventure, to open up the doors. And where you got to look at is, you know, Mars and Jupiter, right before these eclipses happened, about a month ago, made a conjunction point at 18 degrees of Scorpio. And if we actually look back at the chart here, we can actually see that the exact square of the Sun and the Moon is going to happen at 18 degrees of Aquarius and 18 degrees of Scorpio. Now I have it as 19 because I didn't do the exact date, but it's exact at 18, okay? So it's tapping into this Jupiter-Mars deeper element that happened, okay? It is. I mean, it's tapping into, oh my gosh, like I really have to have the courage to open the doors of what I really want in my life. I really have to like look deep inside of my desires and my persona. And a lot of this has to deal with our persona, and a lot of this has to deal with whether or not we're really ready to be honest about that persona and how it wants to be authentic. You know, Scorpio, and I love Scorpios for this, they just don't take bullshit, right? They see right through people, and you know what? Even when they see right through people, if you're not a Scorpio and you hear them, you'll be like, you don't want to hear it. You know, you're like, oh man, they're right, you know? It's like, oh my gosh, they're right, you know? Ugh. And so it's like we're almost having this internal battle in ourselves of like our own authenticity and our own, you know, dealings with relationships. You got to remember, Venus and the Sun have been following each other for the last month and a half. So I guarantee you in your relationships and projects, things have been like on a buildup. And just in the last week, you know, Venus became visible again. Remember, the Sun and Venus were following each other. So if you look up at the Sun, you can't see Venus. It's too bright, right? It's going to blind your eyes, the Sun. And at nighttime, you can't see Venus because, of course, the Sun is on the other side, right? So it's like, now that Venus is popping out, it's like, especially in the middle of these eclipses, especially with Venus sextile Uranus, it's like we're being thrown into new situations with new people, new experiences with Mars in Sagittarius. And a lot of this is like about the authenticity of it all, the authenticity of your true self with that Leo lunar eclipse that happened. Now, I mean, I'll be honest with you all. If I were to really not only take that authenticity aspect of it, but also mix with the fact that there is a higher energy at work here that wants us to go in different places, even though maybe we weren't ready. Now, Aquarius is about rising to the heavens. It's about reaching to higher, you know, heights in life. And literally it is, I don't want to get all Led Zeppelin on you, but the stairway to heaven. And the only way to get to heaven, and of course, is in Christianity through Him, or in other religions, there's always this through. Uranus represents that through, which in a simple sense is just a higher version than your own self, okay? Like on a very easy way to kind of put this, on a very, like, you know, putting it that way. And when you get this Mercury South Node conjunction this week happening. You get the Sun still finishing in Aquarius, squaring the Moon in Scorpio, looking at your authenticity, especially are you ready to move to the next round? It's almost like we're all rising to new levels in our life, and anybody, anything, or anything that is not on that level or that vibration is being just thrown out of our lives. It's sorry, blah, blah. You know, it's like trying to bring a bunch of, I don't know why I thought of that. It's almost like bringing a bunch, like if you were going to go on a boat, right? And you were going to like go out there and go Alaskan fishing. It'd be like bringing a bunch of, I don't know, like, I'm not gonna, people are going to be pissed. A bunch of cheeseburgers in paradise people, you know, like out to Alaska, right? Like they're going to want, you know, to be like hanging out singing cheeseburgers in paradise and wearing their weird little shirts or whatever. I actually love that song and the people, for real. But imagine bringing a bunch of people there and putting them on an Alaskan, you know, fishing trip and be like, what the hell? Like, in our lives, we're not even realizing that there are, I'm going to say it, there are differences between people. There are differences in the world, and it doesn't mean that we can't get along. It just means that there are certain places that we all can't go together, but we all eventually end up in the same place, but we just take different routes to get there. And that's the part of Uranus and Venus. So exciting new relationships can form at the same time as ones can be literally like hawked out and thrown away, like and thrown out, and like, what the heck happened? You know? And you know, one thing about all this Aquarius, especially because the South Node's here, you gotta remember last year, right? Like, yes, the node shifted, okay? But we never experienced the eclipses over in Aquarius with the South Node here. It was, at the beginning of last year, it was the South Node in Pisces, which was the whole, what's going on? Am I really, should I be in this? Or am I, what am I doing? How am I going to get through this? Is there collusion with Russia with my best friend and my dog? Like, you know, like total Neptunian South Node Pisces eclipses that happened at that point, right? In that area. This is now a year where, boom, it's an Aquarius. Holy mother cow, I was not predicting that to happen or that to happen. And with the South Node, it actually physically manifests. It physically manifests more than the North Node. The North Node is this invisible aim in life that we're trying to aim towards, of the dragon's head, right? You know, it's like, this is what we're going for in our life. And I think that you need to realize that when you're dealing with South Node stuff, it's going to be way more extreme because you're going to feel it physically, and it's going to teach you the lesson to go up north, which is Leo, to find that courage deeper inside of what your heart really wants, your true authenticity. And you know what? It is not easy, I'll be real with you all, because that authentic self, that part of yourself that has to raise to a higher vibration right now, you have to deal with the repercussions, which are some people aren't going to be able to come with you to that level. And they could be your closest confidants. They could be everybody that you think in your world. I mean, we're dealing with Venus and Aquarius here. Venus and Aquarius's job is, sure, it's to be social and connect with people. But Venus and Aquarius doesn't, you know, it goes all over the place. It could be any person, you know. When it's Venus and Leo, it's very clear on who it is. It's like the king knows who to not like, you know. But in Aquarius, it could be anywhere. It could come from any corner. It could come from anything. And you've got to also remember that Uranus does rule the nervous system. It does rule, you know, a lot of weird aspects with people's nerves on end. And even though it's in sextile, you got to remember that these eclipses are making everybody ultra sensitive right now. They're making situations very real. And also, whenever we have an in-between eclipse time, it already is like we're in a movie, right? It like, kind of feels like every scene is more dramatic, and it's a build-up towards another dramatic scene. There aren't a lot of dead scenes. I always kind of look at astrology, or the way that the cosmos are turning, as kind of like a television show, right? It's like there's going to be episodes that you watch, and okay, that was another episode. Yep, that was another episode. And then it's like, okay, but we're all here for the mid-season finale. Boom! eclipse time. And then, of course, there's the second season of eclipses where it's kind of like, here's the finale of the TV show this season, bam! And that's kind of how we go through every year. So you got to realize that when we're in between eclipses, oh boy, we're in a mid-season, finale here, right? Like mid-season, whoa, and there's a big dramatic aspect. Things are going to change. It's going to relocate what the next part of the season's going to look like, and so it's dramatic, especially in Leo and Aquarius, which are very dramatic signs, where Virgo and Pisces are a little bit more personal, internal, smaller issues kind of in an unforeseen, unknown scale. You're dealing with, very wide and very small areas in Virgo Pisces, like so wide in Pisces it goes infinite. And it's almost too much to understand. And then Virgo, where it's very small and personal and in a certain little space that you can deal with, right? Because it's containable. But in Leo and Aquarius, I mean, it's dealing more with your connection. It's dealing with, do I feel connected to this? Do I feel invigorated? Do I feel happy? Do I feel truly happy? Or am I playing a role? Am I playing a role? Like that's Aquarius. Like, am I playing a role? Aquarius is the water bearer. The role is to be the water bearer and help people. Now, I'm sure nobody's ever looked at it this way, but okay, like, is that water bearer doing that because they want to, or are they a slave being the water bearer? I've never heard anybody actually ask this. There's two ways to look at it. There are people in the world who want to be nurses and want to help people, and there are people in the world that want to go to Africa and want to go and help people with water and stuff like that. And then there are people who are forced into roles like that. So it's whether or not you're asking yourself in a very deep way, am I playing a role right now in my life, or am I being forced to play this role because I'm trying to be somebody that I'm not, or I'm being a slave to a role because I'm worried about what other people will think. I'm worried how the world's going to take it. I'm worried on how all these people are in my life. And so that's what's coming up during this in-between eclipses. And as we're talking right now, and as I brought up in the chart just earlier, I mean, I'll be real with you. This Scorpio is not a joke, especially as all the planets are still direct. They're still moving forward. I haven't seen this for I don't even know. I'll be honest with you. I haven't seen this for over 5 years. Planets direct for 3 months like this. I mean, and we're not even there. We're not even halfway there. Or we're halfway there. We're halfway there, but we still got over a month of all the planets direct. That means no retrogrades. None. Zitch. Nada. So, we're on a fast-moving bullet train right now in the middle of magic karma, in the middle of karmic connections coming together. And it's no coincidence the people that are coming into your life right now, they were all predetermined and preset for you to get to where you need to go. And the ones that are being removed or not working out were predetermined and set to go so they can meet the other people that they got to go. This is where the chessboard is resetting itself extremely. Extremely. So let's actually take a look at another chart here. And this is the 11th of February here. And why I'm bringing this chart up is we have the sun, right, at 22 degrees, and this is going to be on Sunday, so get ready. Sunday, and Saturday. I don't know if you guys watch The Simpsons. That's an old joke. It's going to square Jupiter, okay? It's a Sun-Jupiter day. I'm a big Sun-Jupiter person, all right? Sun-Jupiter, okay? And look at the other thing that's coming on. The moon in Capricorn getting ready to come in conjunction with the very harsh Pluto and Saturn. So Sunday's pretty extreme, I'll be honest with you, because there's another aspect that's happening too, which I'll show you, is Venus comes into its exaltation or its happiness of Pisces. So we're going to put all this together. By Sunday, you are at a crossroads in your life about if you truly are living in your truth, especially how much you get. Jupiter gives. It's the great benefic. It gives. It's freaking Santa Claus. If we turned it upside down, it looks like Santa Claus's big belly, right? So it's like, so here's the glyph for it, if we were to turn that around, you know, like well, you know what I mean. There's Santa Claus in his belly, right? Okay. Anyway, long story short, when you have a square to Jupiter, you're forced to be honest, to learn and to observe all things and to look deeper. And especially in Scorpio, it's very honest. It's like, hey, listen, whatever this role is you're playing in people and situations, like, if it's not connected to a deep inner desire and truth, you just can't do it anymore. Venus is coming into Pisces to be honest with yourself and say, you know what, I deserve to feel good. This weekend is about letting yourself being good. The moon is highlighting Saturn. Are you on the right track? And if you're not on the right track, it's going to be because you're not living in your authentic truth and you're living a role and you're living a personality, or you're becoming a person that you really know you're not supposed to be. Now, the opposite of that is being on track, realizing that you can benefit from opening up to your true path and finally connect and get the spaceship, just how SpaceX launched today, towards the direction in life that you want to go, and reap the benefits, because not only is it a Sun-Jupiter day, but it's a Venus in exaltation in Pisces, with awesome aspects that are coming up to Saturn, to Pluto in the next month. There's some awesome stuff coming up here, and you're not going to want to waste it. The other thing is Mars. Mars is going to be dead conjunct Antares, the star, okay? And so the warrior in you has to truly come out now. And are you going to take the adventure and move towards the place that you want to go, or not? And you know, Mars is also getting ready to square Neptune, which means there's a little bit of a, like a, I hate to use the analogy, but it's almost kind of like, the best way I could describe it is like, are you going to suppress this adventure inside of you, this true self inside of you? Are you going to suppress it? I don't think you're going to want to suppress it. We're going to come back in a second. We're going to talk more about what's coming up leading from the middle of the eclipse and coming up to the solar eclipse next week, and how that is dramatically changing things. And this is going to be a little 4-minute clip about my Rising Through the Darkness, which I have brought down to $19, and you can rent for $7.99 through Vimeo Video on Demand. It will be on my site, theleoking.com tonight. It's actually encoding right now. Might be up, but anyway, check it out. We'll see you when we get back. Just like a jailbird or any kind of convict who lives in prison for 30 years and they get back out of the system, and the first thing they do is, within a week, they're like, I want to find a way to get back in. I'm robbing the liquor store just to get in here. Catch me. Because they feel more comfortable going back to that prison. So part of the fear is, especially in the spiritual community, is this next 5 years, sure, it's spiritual, but the universe is bringing this to a place to where it's not so much about us gaining our spiritual consciousness as much as it was in the last 5 years, but how to make the world now fit with that inner world we just dealt with for 5 years. Because that inner world that we dealt with for 5 years didn't really show itself off in the world as much as we would all hope, if that makes sense. It's a lot of great conversations. It's a lot of great conferences. It's a lot of great YouTube video content. But of course, when you talk to your friend down the street, they're like, what? Are you going to show me one of those weird effing YouTube videos again? You know, then you start to become that person. You can only imagine in my own life, you know, it's like, oh, so what do you do for a living? I don't even say anything anymore, you know, because it's too hard to describe, right? But that's the whole thing of what's coming in this next 5 years, is leaving that deep inner world that's been very misunderstood. And even I don't think any one of us can come out saying that we understand it completely still. That's, I think, a little bit of a head trip, right? Because it's like, that all really happened to me, and I really shifted so much. And I used to do conferences here at the LAX Hilton called the Conscious Life Expo. It's like America's largest conscious life expo, right? So I used to be a speaker here, and I've done many things here, and that's why I picked this event, because I was like, well, I've done some of my best presentations of my life here, so I might as well maybe come back here. Maybe there's something going on here. So that's why I picked the space, and I've never done one here at home because I'm from LA. I live here. So, but during those events, I would meet people, and I'm not joking. This is during the last 5 years. I would like leave my talk, right? And there'd be like some random like guy being like, yeah, I'm from this planet or whatever, and giving me a piece of geometry in my hand of the weirdest thing, and then I'm like having a panic attack out on the street. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, there were so many weird things with understanding what a walk-in is. I don't know if you guys understand the term of walk-in. It's almost like we all, in a weird way, for those that have been aware, have gone through walk-in experiences in ourselves. I at first thought maybe it was only certain individuals trying to pump up their own spiritual ego, like, I'm a walk-in, right? Like, I came here from another planet, and you didn't. So, you know, it was a lot like that. I don't know if you guys have been kind of, I mean, this is kind of, you know, real deep spiritual stuff, but yeah, everywhere I'd go, it would kind of be like, oh yeah, I'm a walk-in. And then I started to think like, well, what is this experience that we've been all going through, right? I believe that what the last 5 years was that's bridging to this next 5 years is the actual collective conscious dark night of the soul. So we talked about individual dark nights of the souls that have been going on for the last 5 years all over the place, but nobody's talked about, well, was that a collective dark night of the soul? Well, thank you so much for checking out that video. You know, Rising in the Darkness, or Rising Through the Darkness, was honestly one of the longest research projects that I ever did. That video was 5.5 hours long. And the whole part of that show was literally about helping people understand what's coming up here through 2018, through 2023, my predictions, how it's handling the world. So there's a lot of things to pay attention to, a lot of things to look at. And I really advise you, if you really want to know what's coming, if you want to help yourself to understand, I also take a look at the 5 years following 2023, because there's no way to understand what's coming up in the next 5 years without actually even looking farther than that, right? So, and then we also look back. It's a very interesting thing. And you know, it took me a couple months to kind of edit that video correctly, get out all the little weird stuff, and that's just pure, no commercials, just bam, 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 and have it rental streamed. It's pretty cool. You don't have to like go into a Facebook group to watch that video or anything. So let's get back to what we were talking about, which is of course in between eclipses, and why I feel that there's going to be some weird stuff that comes up right before the actual eclipse on February 15th that's coming up here. The thing that's going to happen, and if we do look at the charts, let's see here. Yeah, we're streaming there. Is this. There's this really weird thing going on, okay? Now, in astrology, we have something called the dark moon. You know, no, I didn't steal that from Pink Floyd or anything like that, Dark Side of the Moon. There is a dark moon, and this dark moon is going to happen exactly on the planet Pluto. And I really feel like right before the eclipse happens, especially because there's so much crazy Aquarius energy, right? We got the sun, we got Mercury, we've got Venus, we got so much energy that's in this space. I feel like we need to be prepared. Why? One, we're dealing with a dark moon in Capricorn. People start to get a little freaked out because they want to control their lives a certain way. They're afraid of change. And because the events that happen in between eclipses are so extreme, and the fact that the sun square Jupiter is happening the day after, you know, there's a lot of things that kind of go on to where it's like people might be afraid of the truth of how extreme that change just might be. And the desire to, you know, try and hold on as much as they can And especially when we're dealing with this authentic self, and everything's moving towards Aquarius. I mean, everything's moving towards kind of a radical, wild, who knows where it can go. It can go in any direction. Mars is starting to square Neptune, right, as we build up towards this eclipse. You know, it's like, are you going to suppress yourself fully? Are you going to try and hold on to the suppressed self? Or are you going to free yourself? Aquarius is the sign about freedom. It's about freeing yourself completely and fully. Now, that's not that easy for a lot of people, you know. It's one of those things that people are afraid to do. And, you know, one thing about eclipses is they always bring up, you know, crazy things like breakups. They always bring up, you know, dramatic events. But they also, what they do is they bring up, and especially with a dark moon by itself, and then a dark moon on an eclipse. And I can tell you from personal experience, I have been through some of the craziest events in my life on a dark moon right before the eclipse, is when people do this, they reach their meter, like their top, like I can't do this anymore, or I'm just up to here and I don't know what to do. And sometimes it's like we have to really sit and look at all of the facts, all the observations in our lives, and we need to really look deeper. And especially because this one's going to be on Pluto, especially because there's a lot of Jupiter aspects in Scorpio making that square over to the sun, and especially because there's a lot of Aquarius, we need to really look at a lot. And it could feel like coming up to this eclipse, holy cow, there's a lot to look at. There's a lot that we got going on. Am I going to be able to deal with this? Am I going to be able to, can I live this way anymore? I mean, you got to also remember that, and let's take a look at the chart one more time. Like, we have got all these planets, all of them, okay, in outer vibrational energy. I mean, look at all this Pisces, right? Chiron, Neptune, Venus, then the Sun and Mercury, and the South Node in Aquarius. Those are two outer planet homes. That's like the alien world, okay? Okay, and then we've got the Moon, Pluto, and Saturn out there in harsh kind of, I hate to use the analogy of jail, but also, you know, where we learn our lessons, or it's the iron mill, or I bet we call it where we're mining. You know, it's not, you know, in the very more positive energy zones. I'm not saying they're negative. I'm just saying, like, it's definitely pushing your conscious levels. It's pushing, what it's doing is it's pushing your conscious levels at places that are so deeply buried inside of yourself, right? Like, just all the way down there, and forcing you to bring them up. And how are you going to deal with it? You know, it's kind of like finally when the drain just has all the hair in it, and what else is that's in the hair? Ew, I didn't even know this could come out of my body. Somebody used this thing as a toilet or something? You know, it's like that's because we're at the end of the zodiac. All these planets are coming to the end of the zodiac, right? During this eclipse time. And we're having eclipses in Aquarius at this kind of really wild and trying to move us and free us into new places. But the only way we can free ourselves is to know our authentic self, to own that authentic self, and actually do something with that authentic self. It's not easy, though. I think that a lot of people are somewhat afraid of that. And this is going to bring up the fears, because this is Scorpio. This is a Jupiter in Scorpio, and you're learning to face your fear. And the greatest fear of all is freeing yourself from your unauthentic slave self, that you have put your own self in jail and on a track that you don't want to go on. I was going to put mic drop, but I'll do pen drop. You know, it's like, that's what these eclipses, in my opinion, are about. I mean, it's very difficult, because I think for people out there, you know, going just through the world unconsciously, not paying attention to everything's going around, right? It's like maybe as a Leo I am dramatic, and yes, maybe I paint the picture as like a ride or die, right? And I do that a lot. But we could take this from a different context and look at it and say it like, okay, so maybe your job isn't the right direction or whatever. What are the little adjustments you can make to make it more authentic to you? You know, maybe you could add a picture of yourself at your desk. Maybe you could find a way to change the schedule so you could paint at more, 1 hour a day more. You know, it's like, for some people, ride or die is very hard. For me, it's easy, you know. I love it. So I present astrology in a ride or die fashion. But I get it. There are a lot of people out there who are not like that, who making great change is not easy. But when you're having it in Aquarius, you're having it in Leo, and you're having it in Scorpio, let me be very blunt. These are the 3 signs that don't fuck around. They are ride or die. These are the signs that are ride or die. Fixed signs are ride or die. And when you step into the role of ride or die or extreme change or just dropping the hammer like, you know what, this is what I want. This is what I deserve in my life. This is what's going to get me on track again. A lot of this as well is with Neptune starting to square Mars, and we'll talk about that when we get to the eclipse coming up, but a lot of this is the buildup of you realizing, where are you not on your spiritual track anymore? Where have you kind of deviated off? Where have you, you know, in certain people, in certain ways of your life, in certain places, have you deviated off? And at the same time, it's realizing, because consciousness is just an equal reaction to the other side. Oh, wait, oh, and look where I am getting on track in my life. So it's going to be very clear on the places on where you're on track and very clear on the places where you're not. And you're going to have to go through the battle of finding a way to rise higher and go, okay, I'm going to rise higher now in my life. Woo! Okay, okay, I get it. I know what I got to do. And not be scared of it. Not be scared. A lot of people are scared. I just probably scared you right now. I'm kidding. But, you know, I sincerely believe that with Venus and Pisces, in order to feel good right now, in order to feel the benefits of all this is a great Venus week. I'll be honest with you. Holy cow. At least in between eclipses, we have great Venus aspects. So it's almost like the eclipse might have brought us into some really crazy drama, but in between eclipses, there's way to heal that drama and feel good. But those that are delaying the process are not going to get the goodies. Like, you got tipped off over the last, couple days. What you should do, and whether or not you're going to own it and finally step into it and be part of it, be part of that or not, is up to you. And I think that's a hard thing for a lot of people to accept, is like, God, I got to own that. I got to own that authentic side. I got to own my truth. I got to be it. I got to live it. I got to own it. This was the whole lesson of what 2012 through 2016 was, of Saturn and Scorpio, even though Saturn left Scorpio in 2015, Mars then went into Scorpio and retrograded in 2016 and went over all the energy in which we went through. So, you got to look at that time period. This is where Jupiter is, and look at wherever you were in 2014 and the issues that you were starting to bridge up. And this is where Saturn was in 2014. Where Jupiter is now, where the sun's going to square, where the eclipse is going to square too, which is into 2015, which is at this 27-degree spot. It's going to be making an opposition to where 6 months ago we were. It's going to make a square over to where we were, in 2014 and 2015 with Saturn. I mean, this is really like us getting over a major hump in, this is my real self, and I'm going to own that. So whatever the events were that happened in 2017, showed you a glimpse of what you could be, but you are having to complete the cycle and make some extreme decisions in order to actually reach that spot. So, anyway, thanks everybody for joining. That's all I got for today. If you want to get my February horoscope, it's now available live right here on the link. You can click it, February horoscope. I talk about the whole month of February and how to get through this month with the right people and relationships. It's an hour-long video. It's super awesome. Of course, we are going to be doing this awesome event at Liberate Hollywood. We've got the phone number up on the link. You can also get tickets for live streaming. It's $29 to live stream, $20 in person if you get tickets now. And we also have a $75 ticket for those that want to meet me in person, be backstage, and get a full-blown crystal kit for this awesome solar eclipse ceremony. I'll be doing spiritual dance music and everything. So we got some cool stuff going on. And then, of course, Rising Through the Darkness has been brought down to $19 with a streaming service with a $7.99 48-hour rental if you want to rent it as well. That's up on the leoking.com. Just keep checking up. It's encoding right now. It's a 5.5-hour video, 32 gigs, so that thing's encoding. Anyway, thanks for all your support. I truly appreciate it. And Craig in the back, why don't you send them back instead of sending us to a bumper? Why don't you send them with the Future Life commercial, which looks like in this next week we'll be launching Future Life. The Leo King app's turning into Future Life. We just submitted to Apple and everything's looking good. Why don't you actually check it out, futurelife.tv. You can actually start watching all my horoscopes there every day and sign up now. Thanks so much, everyone. Talk to you later. Hi, Grandma. How are you? Oh, I'm doing good. No, I'm eating really healthy right now in my life. Lots and lots of vegetables. Yeah, and potatoes too. You know, they're vegetables, aren't they? Yeah. No, I'm eating healthy. I feel really good. Yeah, I'm in shape too. Oh, my relationship, Grandma? Oh, it's going great. We're really connected right now. No, I mean the love's there. She's. No, lots of attention. We really have really interesting conversations too. No, yeah, don't worry about me, Grandma. It's going good. Oh, my dreams. You know, you don't have to worry about my dreams. They're always coming true. Yeah, financially, everything's going good. I've got everything I want, the job I want. Yeah, everything's going good there. Future Life? What's that, Grandma? I know, I'll follow your advice. What is it? It's a new app? I'll check it out. Future Life.
Future Life. Wake up to your future like you've never seen before.